Welcome to Budget Beauty, where I help you look flawless for less. Welcome back, and a very, very special welcome. If you're new here, my name is Jen and this is Budget Beauty. We do everything beauty on a budget, and that includes get ready with me testing out newly released eyeshadow palettes. The palette that I'm putting on my eyes today for you in this tutorial and the look that you see here is using the brand new Melt Gemini II palette. As soon as I saw this palette released, I knew I had to get my hands on it because it is a grungy dream. I was a little bit nervous because Melt cosmetic palettes can be hit and miss with their mattes and their shimmers, but I knew that I needed to try this palette because the color story spoke right to my heart. Packaging is absolutely beautiful. Color story is absolutely beautiful as well. I am going to go ahead and insert close-ups of the unicarton, the palette itself, as well as swatches. I did go ahead and swatch on the palm of my hand because I do have self-tanner on, as well as some tattoos on my arm. So using the palm of my hand is going to give you the truest indicator of the actual color. The Melt palette swatched really, really well. Again, it's a nice grungy color story, which speaks right to my heart. There are a lot of different looks that you can create with this palette. You can go a little bit on the lighter, more neutral side, or you can go on the deep, dark, and grungy side. So today's look is a mix between the two. I use some of the lighter shades in the palette, some of the more grungier shades in the palette, and I really, really love how today's look turned out. So if you're excited for an honest review of the Melt Gemini II palette, give this video a huge thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and your bell is turned on because I upload lots and lots of new videos every single week. I will make sure that I link the palette down below, as well as all of the other makeup that I'm wearing today, all of my favorite beauty subscriptions, and lastly, come on over, follow me on TikTok for more beauty on a budget. I can't wait to play with the Gemini 2 palette from Melt. So let's jump into today's look using the Melt Gemini 2 palette. This is actually the first Melt palette that I've purchased. I did receive the Millennial Pink palette in a mystery box, and I had heard that it wasn't a good palette, but I actually had pretty good luck with it and really liked the look that I created. So when I saw that Gemini 2 was released, I had to pick it up. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is apply my eyeshadow primer. I use the MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. This just helps bring out the color of the shadows and keeps them in place all day. I always like to tap my eyeshadow primer out as well, just to make sure that there isn't any creasing. I do not set my eyeshadow primer, but I do wait about a minute or two before I start applying my shadow. This is such a beautiful palette. I don't even know where to start with colors. I don't know if I want to do more of a rosy look or more of a grungy look. The grunge lover in me wants to focus on a grungy look and these colors down at the end here, so I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start with this shade here called Jamalias, and I'm going to put that in my crease as my transition shade. Now it is a little bit darker shade for a transition, but like I said, I want a pretty grungy look. That is actually a really, really beautiful shade. Very pigmented, which is really nice because Melt, I've heard, can be pretty hit and miss. And this is definitely pigmented so far, and it's blending out really nicely. It's not patchy at all. I'm going to go in with the other side of that brush into this yummy olive grungy shade called Almond Eyes. And I'm going to use that to deepen my crease and also help blend out the Jamalias shade. This is also beautiful, pigmented, going on amazing, blending out amazing. That is really, really pretty. Very pigmented, very deep in tone. I'm going to blend that out just a little bit more. You know I love kind of a messy makeup look, so this is right up my alley. Now I'm going to go into the shade here called Boy Mum, and it's a nice dark chocolate brown. I'm going to use that to just deepen up that outer crease a little bit. Also very pigmented and blending really well. Really pretty. I mean, very, very pigmented, very deep, very grungy. I'm instantly drawn to this shimmery green shade called Mathed, and I think I'm going to apply that all over the lid. Normally I use my finger. I'm going to try picking it up with a brush and see how it applies. Ooh, that is beautiful. It's actually applying really nicely. Let's try it with our finger. Look at that shade. That is so, so pretty. If you don't like using your finger to apply your shimmer, my recommendation would be to use a wet brush because that usually works really well. I honestly find that you get the biggest payoff though with your finger. So if you're comfortable with that, that's really, in my opinion, the best way to apply shimmers. And that's another thing with Melt is their shimmer formula can be hit and miss, but this one is really pretty. Speaking of shimmers, there are only 2 shimmers in this palette, this green shade and then this pinky shade here. So not a lot of shimmer options in the palette. So I went ahead and went with that more grungy green look. Now I'm going to go back into the shade Jamalias and run that under my lower lash line. I do want to try the other shimmer shade, Shimood, but I'm going to use that on my lower line. Ooh, that's really, really pretty as well. We are deep, we are grungy. I'm really liking this. Let me show you the shadow up close. It is definitely dark and grungy. I also really like that lower lash line with that little bit of shimmer. And this Jamalia shade right here is absolutely stunning. Perfect pinky but grungy. I'm going to go ahead and apply some liner, mascara. I'm not going to put on lashes because I really want to focus on the depth and the grunginess of this look. You can definitely put some really bold lashes with this because it is a little bit darker look, but today we're going to make it simple with liner and mascara. So mascara and liner is on. I love how deep, dark, and grungy this is. I thought that we could do my lips together. Because I do have a darker look, I want to go with a more simpler lip. So we're going to use a Melt lip liner. This is the Perfectionist lip in the shade Caffeine. It's a nice deep brown. So I'm going to go ahead and line my lips with that. And then I'm going in with a gloss. We're not gonna do a liquid lip or a lipstick or anything today. This is the Ofra Cosmetics Truffle Lip Gloss. It's going to help blend my Melt lip liner, which is going to be the color basis of my lips. And it's just going to give a really pretty kind of ombre look to it. Not too dark, but definitely ties in that darker, grungier eye look. I will make sure I link the Melt liner and the Ofra lip gloss down below for you. I love both of these products so much. And of course, I'll link the Gemini 2 palette. I really like the look. It's definitely a me look. It's very grungy. You could go lighter depending on the shades that you choose, or you can go with a deeper, grungier look, kind of whatever your vibe is for the day. So let's go ahead and jump into my final thoughts on the Melt Gemini 2 palette. So here is my final look for today using the Melt Gemini 2 palette. My final thoughts on this are, I think this palette is fantastic. Like I mentioned, the shades are very pigmented. They blend out really well. I had no patchiness. I felt like there was really good payoff with the shimmers, whether I used a brush, a wet brush, or my finger. I just prefer using my finger to apply the shimmers. I like that this is a deep, dark, grungy color story, but you have some really light, neutral shades on the end that you can pair with some of these more dark, grungy shades at this end of the palette. The 2 shimmers in here I really like. I have to say I love a good matte, but I do wish there was maybe one lighter shimmer for the inner corner or for the inner lid just to kind of brighten up the look a little bit. But overall, I think the color story's done really well. The quality is fantastic, and I'm really glad that I picked up the palette. It opens up my eyes to Melt, and chances are I'll be picking up some additional palettes in the future. So I would give this palette a huge, huge thumbs up. And again, I'm really glad that I dove into Melt Cosmetics. I love their lip liners. I love their highlighters, but I was excited to actually fall in love with one of their palettes. So of course, I'll have the Gemini 2 palette linked down below with all of the other makeup that I'm wearing today if you're interested in shopping the palette or shopping my look. And don't forget, you'll also find all of my favorite beauty subscriptions and my TikTok. Come on over, follow me there if you want more beauty on a budget. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the look, what you think of the palette. Do you have the palette? Are you going to purchase the palette? Let me know everything down in the comments. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.